Good morning, my beautiful English learners. I'm Ronan. This is Little Seal English. This is English on the Road. How are you doing? So, in this video, I'm going to teach you a whole bunch of English from the great outdoors in Canada. There is a beautiful phrase. The great outdoors. The great outdoors is nature. The great outdoors is being in the mountains. The great outdoors is when you spend time outside. We like to say the great outdoors because it is great. It is amazing. If you ever do come to Canada and you walk around and you go to some shops or go to some malls, you'll probably see some big signs saying, "Welcome to the great outdoors," or "Go explore the great outdoors." Now, I came to Canada because I love the great outdoors. I came to Canada because I also love weed, and Canada has both. It has weed and the great outdoors. But today, we're only going to focus on the former, the great outdoors, not the weed part. So in this video, I have recorded this video several different times, and therefore, I look a little different from video to video or from clip to clip. Some of it was recorded 2 years ago, some 3 or 4 years ago, and I've decided to just put it all together and make a longer YouTube video teaching you random English from the mountains of Canada. So, let's get started. Where am I going? Oyama Lake. Oyama. Oyama Lake, British Columbia. Look that place up. It is amazing. Why am I going there? At the time of recording the video, I rented a cabin. The cabin is in the mountains. So, that's what I do in the winter. I go to cabins, I light fires, and I relax without internet, and I love it. What am I going to teach you? A whole bunch of random English and examples of Canadian culture. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a coffee, and let's learn some English in the great outdoors of Canada.
There. Look at that. I just love how the snow sits on top of all the trees and you hit them and it falls off sometimes. And here's my cabin. Home, sweet home.
Good morning, good afternoon, or maybe it's good evening, I've no idea. Welcome to Little Seal English, and today we're going to learn English in the mountains, in a cabin, in a very cold and snowy environment. Alright, I'm about to hit the road and drive up a mountain, and I will show you some videos in a moment. Here we go. So, when we go up to the mountains, to the cabin, it's a dry cabin. Which means there's no running water. So it's important to bring your own water. And this is where I go. I usually just stop off on the way to Oyama. And I grab myself a big 5-gallon jug of water for $2. So it's not too bad. And this will obviously do several people over the weekend. If it's not too cold, I will leave the water there, but of course the problem is then it might freeze, so we'll see. But that's the last stop that I need to do before I head up the hill to Oyama. Okay, I mentioned there a dry cabin, dry, D-R-Y, and in this case, a dry cabin refers to no water. So the cabin that I go to, there's no running water, which means you need to bring water in advance. And that's why I stop at the water station, I fill up my giant 5-gallon jug of water, and I bring it up the mountains. So dry is an adjective that we use when there's no water or when there's no alcohol involved. Here's an example of dry, a dry wake or a dry funeral. So when my grandfather passed away, he had a dry wake. W-A-K-E. A wake occurs after a person dies, before the funeral. So in between that time period, we have what is called a wake. And it is a time when people can come and pay respect to the body, pay respect to the family, and just show respect in general. In my country, a wake is not necessarily a sad thing, but kind of like a party sometimes. It just depends on the circumstances of the death. In my country, a wake is usually held in a person's house. So that means when you die, you return to your home and they put you in the living room or in the dining room or something, and people come to your house, they pay respect to your body, and then they go to other parts of your house and they socialize with members of the community. And there is alcohol involved. So like I said, a wake in Ireland might be a little different to anything you've ever experienced, because it's like a party, because there's alcohol. However, when my grandfather died, he had a dry wake, D-R-Y, and that meant there was no alcohol. My grandfather never drank. He did not drink alcohol. My grandmother never drank. And so when my grandfather passed away, it made sense to have a dry wake. I have been to other wakes where there has been a lot of alcohol, and they are good fun, and there's music and stuff, and yes, people are sad, of course they are, but it's also a time to celebrate. So, my grandfather had a dry wake. We held a dry wake for my grandfather. Dry, no alcohol. Sometimes people have a dry house, and it could be a very strong rule in the house. No alcohol in this house. If you are staying in college or university, they might try to have a dry campus, which is no alcohol on campus, which is shit. You might go to a high school graduation and it's probably going to be a dry high school graduation. So DRY means no alcohol or no water. In this case of this video, it's no water. There's plenty of alcohol. But if you ever hear the term like a dry party or a dry event, it just means no alcohol. Water is okay. Alcohol is not. All right, let's continue with the video. I'm driving, so check out the snowy road. I'm driving up the hill to Oyama, to the cabin, into those clouds up ahead. That's where I'm going. I really hope I make it to my destination without any issues. I am probably going to put the camera down now so I can focus on my driving. Wish me luck, folks. So I might need to chain up. Chain up is when you get your chains on the wheels of your car so you've better traction in the snow. And right now, because the road has not been ploughed, I might need to put the chains on my car. I'll get a little further and make a decision, but just take a look at the road right now. I'll show you. The camera might not pick it up effectively, but there's a couple of inches of snow on the road. Now, I have decent tires, so I might not need the chains, but better safe than sorry. Good morning. This road behind me is a Forest Service road. And a Forest Service road is just a road up in the mountains that is not paved or anything like that. And we have many of these in BC. And one thing that we like to do is just drive up a random Forest Service road, have a fire, and take in the spectacular views of lakes and mountains. And just before I go home, I'm going to sit and enjoy a coffee when looking at that gorgeous view. This is the road I'm on. It's a Forest Service road. You probably can't see too much with the camera, but this divot here is where other cars have gone, and it's just like pure rock hard ice. Then you go around the corner and it could be slush, and that's where you get stuck. So that's why we chain up when we're driving on these roads in Canada. And sometimes you even have to have these when you're driving on the highway in the winter. You can see all that snow there. That's what I'm driving through right now. this road is a Forest Service road. And it goes up and around this turn and up the mountain there. So this here, this turn, we call like a switchback. You know, you switch back and then you go up the mountain. I thought I just heard something, but I'm fairly sure I'm alone up here. It's too early for the bears to be up this high. Anyways, this is a Forest Service road, and as you can see, it's not paved or anything. It's like a dirt road, and right now it's a little muddy, a little more. Now in this part it's fine to drive, but further up the hill it's covered in snow, and like hard snow. So a Forest Service road, one thing that we do in BC is just drive up random Forest Service roads, park our cars and just go to lookouts, light a fire and have a few drinks. It's called a bush party, or a Forest Service road party. Really cool activity. But when you're on this road, it's rare that you meet people. That's why I love Forest Service roads and just pulling over on them. It's a cool spot. You know, I almost took the chains out of the car last week because I made it up and down the hill without chains. Good thing I'm lazy and didn't do what I was supposed to do. So I had to stop and put the chains on. Now, because I'm a terrible YouTuber, I didn't record it. I'm glad I didn't record it because there was a lot of effing and blinding. Yes, I took the chains out of the car. They were all tangled. It took for fucking ever to untangle them, detangle them, whatever you want to say. Get them on the car, and now I'm ready to hit the road up the hill. Take a look though. It's very snowy. And it snowed, and not only that, but the road is not plowed yet. So I'll be going up this hill maximum 20-25 kilometers an hour. It's gonna be a long drive. Yeah, here we go. These are the chains I talk about. And the worst is when they're all tangled, because they take a bit just to get them untangled. And the reason they're tangled is because someone didn't put them away properly last time. Everyone cutting corners. Definitely wasn't me. No way. I am unable to tell if my ass is warm because the heated seats are on, or if I've shit myself because this is pretty sketchy. To shit yourself! Great phrase. And it means you're very afraid of something. And right now, I'm on a very big snowy hill, and I am afraid I will not make it. It doesn't look so bad on camera, I bet, but it's a couple of inches deep right now. You have to hit the road at speed in order to get here, you know? I'm coming up on the sketchiest part of the route. There's a pretty big hill that you need to hit at speed in order to make it up the entire way. Gotta do it at speed. Again, the camera probably doesn't do it justice, but it's a pretty steep hill and this snow is pretty deep. Foot down. Come on, Bridget. Come on, girl, you can do it. You can do it. Look at her, she's giving it 90. Come on! Come on, Bridget! Bridget is the car, by the way. And she's a trooper. No slowing down, no stopping on these hills. I really hope I don't meet anyone around this corner. Oh yeah, come on Bridget, you are a sexy lady, you can do this.
yeah, baby. Made it to the top. Oh, definitely a little nerve-wracking once or twice, but with the chains, definitely doable. Would not have been possible unless I chained up. So I'm glad I took the time to chain up. And this is where I spend most of my time in the winter. At least the weekends. It's an alright spot, like. It's very powdery snow. Powdery snow. Yeah. Okay. This is a snow shovel. And I'm going to dig out a path to the cabin. So here's the cabin here. And in order to get to the cabin, I need to walk from up in that car all the way down here. The problem is it just snowed, so it's my job to dig out a path. It's very self-explanatory, but it's a phrasal verb, to dig out. And yeah, it's basically, there's not much to it, folks. You just dig a path. I don't know why I thought this would be a cool English lesson. But there you go, phrasal verb, dig out. Actually, it could be important because if you're here for a couple of days and your car gets covered in snow, you'll need to dig out your car. If I come back in a week and this table is covered, I would need to dig it out. I don't think I would bother though because I'm not going to be using it in the winter. But dig out, phrasal verb. Isn't it beautiful up here? Apart from when you have to dig out a path through the entire snow. Oh, there's Andy. Hello, Andy. Andy! Andy loves the snow. She is in her element in the snow. Let's take a look inside the cabin. This is where I spend most of my winter. It's not that big. It's a wee A-frame cabin. The A-frame cabin. We got one bed down there, another one up there. A pull-out couch as a bed. Table, window, gas stove, and a fire stove. So, this is basically it. Oh yeah, there's a light bulb up there and one electric socket just there. So this is where I spend most of my winter. It's not bad. We do have a sink, but as you can see from this sign, water is turned off for the winter, so that is what it is. So I'm here by myself right now. I have a friend coming up as well tonight. But once you arrive, it's pretty cold. Now, thankfully, it's not too cold this time of year yet. Yeah, I know it's snowing and everything, but it's not freezing. But one of the things I'm obviously going to start with is a fire. So I got to get a fire going. It doesn't take too long. It takes a bit to heat up the entire cabin, but usually when you arrive, you're moving around. I'm going to boil some hot water too, and I'd say in 1 hour, this cabin will be nice and toasty. So yeah, time to start with a fire. Do you know how to start a fire? Is that a skill that you've learned? I used to think everyone knew how to light a fire, and I realised no, it's just because I was in the Scouts when I was a kid and because my parents would have taught me it. So, but yeah, let's learn how to light a fire. To start, we have paper, kindling, wood. We start with the wood, or we start with the kindling and the paper. This is our stove. open it, and in there is where everything goes. But you have to set it up correctly. Get paper balls to start. Paper is a valuable resource up here. I usually like to get a big piece of wood, put it at the back. Then I'm going to get my paper and stuff it in there. Once I have enough paper, I start to build up around it with the kindling. The kindling is a lot smaller and will catch a lot quicker than a big log. A big log will not burn unless it has the heat from the kindling and the paper. I have it all set up in there. I know you can't see it, but essentially the big wood is at the back, then there's paper, and then I build the kindling as a pyramid over it. Now we light it and wait. And now your job as someone who lives here is to just watch it and make sure it takes off. You know, that's the big deal. We want to make sure that we get a fire going. And here's the thing as well. In the middle of the night, the fire goes out sometimes. So you might want to have a lot of these prepared in advance. Good phrase there. So I'm going to first get the whole cabin set up. Then I'm going to prepare for lighting a fire in the middle of the night, because there's nothing worse than waking up at like 3 a.m. in a cold cabin and not having a way to start a fire quickly. So folks, there you go. Have the fire going. Now I'm going to get settled, drink a hot whiskey, I think. Get my belly nice and warm. Here's one that I bet you didn't know. This is a stove. This here is the choke. The choke. Look at the wood inside. Now let me turn the choke or open the choke. And the fire picks up. But if I close the choke, the fire starts to die down. The choke, the fire, the stove, the chimney, the wood piles, the kindling, the boots drying by the fire. But now I'm going to have to open the choke to get more airflow, so this cabin will get warmer faster. Usually I'll have the choke all the way to the left at night, so it's a slower burn of the wood and you wouldn't burn as much at night. But now, because I just arrived, I want to make it warmer. The choke is going to go all the way open, and thus the fire will pick up a lot faster, and then I will add more wood. Random cabin English for you.
Okay, so the next part of the video that we're going to look at is a very fun activity that we do in Canada in the winter called skidooing. Skidooing. You might know it as snowmobiling, but snowmobiling and skidooing are more or less interchangeable. Canada is a big country, right? And I got friends from all over. I got some friends who are from the middle of Canada. And it was always interesting asking them what they did for fun growing up. And their response was simple. We played with toys. Of course they played with toys. Every kid should play with toys. However, the toys my friends were talking about were not the ones you hold in your hands, but the ones you sit on. They were talking about motorbikes. They were talking about cars. They were talking about quad bikes, dirt bikes, and they were talking about skidoos and snowmobiles. In a moment, you're going to see me on a snowmobile. In a moment, you're going to see me being pulled by a snowmobile. And in a moment, you're going to see a kid on a snowmobile or a skidoo. Why? Because it's Canada, and that's what we do. We like to say a rip. I'm going for a rip or And a rip is just like a time spent on a machine. It could be like, let's go for a rip on the skidoo. Let's go for a rip on the dirt bike. Let's go for a rip in the car. And it's just you go for a drive. Maybe you go a little fast. And so I love going for a rip at Oyama in winter on a skidoo. I love going for rips. I love going for a rip. Do you want to go for a rip? And so a huge part of my enjoyment of winter is skidooing. There is nothing more fun than ripping across a lake, a frozen lake, on a skidoo, going as fast as you can. At one point, I believe I got to like 80 or 90 kilometers per hour. It was crazy. I love the skidoo. So sit back, relax, and let's just watch some videos with skidoos in Canada. Here we go.
I love how small it is.
Okay, so that is all about the skidoo. It's a very fun activity to do. You should absolutely try it at some point. I don't have my own skidoo because I live downtown, but I have many friends who have skidoos and we often go for rips together. But now let's talk about something else. Now let's talk about snowshoeing. This is a snowshoe. I use this when I want to hike in the winter in Canada. On the back of it, you can see there is like a sort of claw-like thing, and that digs into the snow. Because it's wide, the pressure of your body weight is distributed evenly and you don't sink in the snow. You're able to just walk on top of the snow. I really enjoy snowshoeing. A lot of people don't. I do. It's cold. It can be miserable, but you get to walk anywhere you see snow, you can walk. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of fucking snow. So generally speaking, I go snowshoeing in the mountains, I go snowshoeing in forests. In BC, or in Canada in general, we have different places to go for different sports, and we have snowshoe trails that you can do. Another cool thing about it is that when you go snowshoeing in Canada, you can find random cabins in the middle of nowhere, sit in the cabin, light the fire, relax for a while, and then continue on your hike. So snowshoeing is one of my favorite activities, and this is a snowshoe. Very simple. Your foot goes into it, you tighten the shoe, and off you go. Let's take a quick look at a video of snowshoeing, and we'll discuss it after.
I love watching the snow float across the lake.
The snow? Oh yeah, cool.
To dig out. Yesterday, I told you about digging out the path, which is now completely covered again. Now, there's a fire pit in there. I'm gonna dig it out and have an outdoor fire today. Dig out, phrasal verb. All right. I was gonna wait till tomorrow to show you this, but I'm afraid it might not be here tomorrow. So let's go have a look. But first, I'm trudging through the snow right now. Take a look. To trudge, it's definitely one collocation with snow. To walk through the snow, or in my case, I'm trudging through the snow. He trudged through the snow, and it's like you walk difficultly through it, which it is not easy. But this is what I wanted to show you tonight, because tomorrow it could be a little more frozen, who knows. Okay, so behind me we have a lake, and the lake is not yet frozen over, but it will be soon. So this is one of the few times of a year where we have a lot of snow on the mountains and then the lake as well. So only a few times a year do we actually get the views as good as this. It is absolutely gorgeous. This is a cabin. This is a cabin in the mountains. It's a wooden cabin. It's a log cabin. It is so goddamn nice. And this cabin looks out onto the lake. Looks out onto. So this cabin looks out onto the lake. I'm going to a cabin where I can look out onto the lake. I'm going to a cabin that looks out onto a lake. It is my dream to have a cabin that looks out onto a lake. Behind me is a lake. It's not yet frozen, but soon it will be frozen over. To freeze over. Phrasal verb. And the lake will freeze over. And it's crazy to think how, like, in the summer you swim in that lake and it's beautiful. Right now you wouldn't touch it because it's cold, and maybe in a couple of days or weeks I'll be out walking on that lake because it will be frozen over. Pretty cool to freeze over. Do lakes in your locality freeze over? Let me know in the comments.
Morning. So now, folks, you can see it has more or less frozen over. There's a thin layer of snow on top, and you can see in like this area here, it's not completely frozen, but out there in the middle, it's a lot more frozen than it was. Winter's here.
There's the picnic table covered in snow. Anyone fancy a picnic today? It's a little cold. Go for a dip after if you're interested. A dip. Let's go for a swim. I really don't think I'd go for a dip in this. There's some people who do the polar dip every year. The polar dip is when people jump into a lake on New Year's or Christmas. I've not done it, and I'm not doing it because I'm not stupid. But yeah, a dip. So, fancy a dip after a picnic out here? No thanks. Alright, I'm going back to the cabin now because my feet are getting cold, because once again I am trudging through this snow. But that was just something I wanted to show you, was the lake down there. And look at that. I just love how the snow sits on top of all the trees and you hit them and it falls off sometimes. And here's my cabin. Home, sweet home. Hello. These are icicles. Icicles. If you didn't know, now you know.
Alright, so the final part of this video is all about wood. W-O-O-D. Wood, 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 wood. You know, I'm staying in a cabin. It means we need wood for that cabin. Where do we get it? You don't buy it. You don't go to the wood shop. You get it yourself. And that's a big part of living in the bush in Canada. That's a big part of living in the great outdoors in Canada. You need to be self-sufficient. Self-sufficient is when you can take care of yourself. So, in the next part, I'm going to show you how we do wood in Canada. That's how we collect wood. That's how we prepare wood. And it's how we store wood. It's a really back-breaking thing to do, to go and get wood or to do wood. It hurts. It's a very physical, intensive job that you must do. And every year, I like to go up to Oyama and help my friends get enough wood for the winter. For me, it is a beautiful way to get exercise, to work out, and to do something productive. So, let's learn a little bit about felling trees and doing wood in Canada. Here we go.
What's up? So, right now, I'm doing wood. That's a weird one, to do wood. And it's one that we use in Canada, I guess. Up in the mountains when we go and collect firewood for the winter. So we go into the forest with some chainsaws, cut down trees, try to find dead ones, chop them up, bring them back, split them, and get them ready to keep us warm for the winter. So what are you doing this weekend? Doing wood. And for people who are familiar with it, it makes complete sense, but for strangers it might sound weird to be saying, this weekend I'm doing wood. Anyways, that's what I'm doing. And here is a mill. That's where we do all the wood. To fell a tree. We are going to fell a tree in here. A really big tree. To fell a tree, it's the term you use when you want to knock a tree down. So the verb is to fell. And we are going to fell one of these big giant trees behind me. It's dead. There's not too many people around. So now is a good time to fell it, to knock it over, and to hopefully prevent something bad from happening in the future. So to fell a tree, to knock a tree over. Oh my God. Here is some of the wood we collected today. So I said we're doing wood, and that means we got logs like this from an area like this. So we went deep in there, cut a bunch, chucked it a bunch. Chucking wood. How much wood can Ronan chuck if all he does is chuck wood? This is chucking wood. Bye. And then we bring it into a truck up to the woodshed, which is where we split it. So that is the process of doing wood. Random collocation for you. Hey, this is a woodshed. It's called a woodshed because it's full of wood and it's a shed. Do you have a woodshed? Now I've made it to a part of the hill that is just dirt. So I just came from up there. And around that corner is all snow and it's pretty hard to actually drive on. Now I'm on dirt so I can take these chains off. So I pulled in to make enough space for a car to pass. And now I gotta get my hands dirty again and take these off. In the winter, you do this in the snow so it's not so bad. But doing it now is a pain because I'm going to get covered in mud. Mud season. It is what it is.
Well, friends, I think that's about it. That is a very random video about the great outdoors of Canada, about going to cabins in Canada. A lot of random English there. You know, freeze over, to thaw could be another one, a polar dip, for example. So much random English. I even thought you had to light a fire or to control the choke of a fire. We spoke about doing wood or collecting wood. We spoke about a whole bunch of shit. And I really hope you enjoyed and learned something. So my name is Ronan. This is Little Seal English. This is English on the Road. Do me a favor. Subscribe, like, comment, do whatever it is. Pass this video on to someone that you hate or someone that you love. I don't care. Pass it on to someone. And most of all, just watch it back. Let me know if you have any questions and enjoy the rest of your day, my friendly English learner. Bye for now.